because we are live wire exposed. This morning we are going to talk about the underdog, and one of the ways to be the underdog, and we will explain if you'll hang on, is to be a live wire exposed for the opposition to grab at their own risk. Charles Van Morgan, welcome to the show. Beautiful American flag. Here we go, hang on. So we are talking about being a live wire. And as you see, the beautiful city of Knoxville, we're going to talk about the underdog this morning. We're going to talk about how to be the underdog. We're going to talk about being a live wire. Now, I've always thought of myself as a live wire, and one of the ways to be an underdog is to be a live wire, be active, be energized and charged, and we're going to explain that. Now, Jerry and Matt and Margie Selby were mathematicians. Now, they had a high level of education in math, and they learned about the lottery and figured something out. So I'll mention them because a lot of people are stuck in their ways. And one of the things that taught me, don't always assume anything, test things. I'm not talking about testing a live wire, I'm talking about testing how to be a live wire, which is what we need to do to succeed when we're an underdog, be a live wire. Don't have your opinions already made up, just verbatim across the board without thinking about things, thinking about them through, because you could be wrong. There's no always right and always wrong sometimes. So they were mathematicians, and I always thought that playing the lottery was stupid because your odds of winning were dramatic. You weren't going to win, you're wasting your money. It's a tax on the poor, and it is. Now they have the Tennessee Lottery today advertising it and all the money that it goes to help students, but it's a self-imposed tax on the poor. And that's what it was in my mind across the board. But I come to soon understand there are some, and I think they've made it better now, that are statistically, you can win if you know how to rig the game in your favor mathematically. And those two mathematicians figured out a mathematical formula to win the lottery. Now, I never played the lottery because I thought it was gambling and I didn't want to waste my money. Now, some people do. That's on you. You're buying hope. If the hope makes you feel happy that you might win $10 billion, hey, that's your choice. But you're probably not going to win. The odds are that you'll get struck by lightning before you win the lottery. But my mind was made up about the lottery. I would have never played. It's a waste of money. Wouldn't have done that. Mathematically, you can't win. But I didn't think about it because some mathematicians that knew just a little more than me figured out the math behind one of the games in the United States and won a lot of money, started a business on the lottery. Wow, I would have never thought that. That was out of the question for me because just verbatim, I just thought, too much odds, you can't win. But that wasn't true. It absolutely wasn't true. Had I knew then what I know now, without just coming to a conclusion, without knowing any damn thing about math as far as the lottery goes, and plugging math into some of the lottery games, I could have won a lot of money rigging the game legally and buying lottery tickets the way they did, and they won a lot of money, set up a business, corporations on the lottery ticket. Now I think they've got that cured now. There may be another way, I don't know. What I'm saying is, my opinion blocked what was real math. Really won the game. It wasn't bad odds if you knew how to do it. And I came up with that conclusion without thinking it through, without knowing what the hell I was talking about. Those mathematicians knew what they were talking about. Won a lot of money off a high-risk game, knowing how to play the odds. I would have never thought that. That was not in my mind. So I always use that today as, don't have your mind predetermined about stuff all the time. Think things through. Consider the opposing view. Consider what you believe might not be absolutely true. And my view that the lottery was a losing game, you're wasting your money, was not true. It just absolutely wasn't true. There's a mathematical formula, statistically, where you could win a lot of money. I would have never considered that had I not seen it with my own eyes. So we need to consider things that normally we would just say, hey, that's not realistic. Playing the lottery is a waste of money. When mathematicians that knew what the hell they were talking about, knew the math, figured it out and won a lot of money. Now, if you have religious or moral reasons you want to play the lottery, even if you could win, I understand that. But I'm just talking about realistically, scientifically, mathematically, my view of the lottery was very wrong. To extreme amount of financial credit that people won wrong. Bad wrong, I would never imagine. I would have said they're crazy. And they weren't crazy, they knew the math. I didn't, they were right, I was wrong. So, in being the underdog, think things through. Don't automatically consider that this isn't gonna work, that it doesn't work this way. Look at the science. Look at the math behind things. And also, look at the human aspect of things. The heart of women and men is a very powerful thing against a lot of odds where people aren't supposed to win because of the human spirit that you can't measure, and our AI can't measure that. And a lot of times the underdog can win in a lot of cases. And I've always thought of one way in order to do that, and I've been very successful at that, is to be a live wire. And I've always thought of myself as a live wire, a person of action that does something about things. Now, that doesn't automatically make up my mind that, hey, you can't win the money off the lottery when people did. Hey, you can't do this. People have, they did. By figuring things out, thinking through things. And I've been able to get a high level of education by being a live wire, going after it, working hard for it, studying. And now all the people in here that don't have any education. Now this doesn't mean I'm smarter than you. I read a book when I was in college that talked about people with a college degree sometimes don't know how to do the jobs that they're studying for. They can tell you how to do it in a book, but in reality, they can't do the job that they've got a degree for because their talents don't match their degree, don't match their knowledge in the subject area. So if you don't have a degree, don't feel bad. You may be better able to do your job, and a lot of times you are, than somebody without a college education. There are some degrees that are required by the government in order for you to engage in a profession. You have to have a law degree, pass the bar to be a lawyer. You have to go through years of clinical trials and have a medical degree to be a doctor, so that we know that you know what you're talking about. And even then, people sometimes, it is recommended in a lot of cases, surgery and a lot of important medical procedures, that you have a second opinion, even with all the knowledge and education. But people who have self-educated sometimes are smarter and able to do a job better than people who just have a college education. And that's what the whole book I read was about. So formal credentials doesn't necessarily equal ability. So we're talking about live wire, the underdog, and being energized and charged and not being a pushover, being something to contend with. Live wire exposed. So people in power run over people. They take wire all the time and throw it away, use it to whatever they want to. They grab people, move them wherever they want to. My inclination and personality is always be a live wire. You grab hold of me, you'll get shocked. Illegitimately. There's some force behind it. Live wire. That's a way to overcome huge odds. Be a live wire. Be an active person mentally, physically, spiritually. Fight things. Be energized. Don't be a pushover. If they grab you, shock the hell out of them. And shock and awe. It works. So my mother was one of the smartest people that I know. And it wasn't by chance. My mother literally had notes and notebooks of things. She read books and wrote down notes and was self-educated. Now, she got a formal education equivalent to associate degree in her later in life in interior design. She could design things most beautifully. She was interested in interior design and interested in that and self-educated in that. And she could do it long before she ever got a formal education. She got a formal education in it because she wanted to be publicly recognized. So we got a few people in it, publicly recognized. And have that credentials, but she already knew how to be a interior designer already. And she made notes and had notebooks and notebooks of notes and books she read, and designs and floor plans and with architecture and magazines and of beautiful interior design and buildings. So she was self-educated. There's nothing wrong with being self-educated. Some people are more educated in stuff they study themselves than people that get a formal education because they're interested in it. And some people are interested in stuff they go to college for. So she was a live wire. She studied. Was very good at what she did. She worked at the Brown Squirrel. And she drove a bus so that me and my sisters could attend a private Christian school so we'd get a good education and a Christian education, which is what I got, which is extremely valuable. No matter who teaches it, a Christian education is valuable. You learn to dispel some of the popular alleged scientific beliefs like evolution. You know, they taught me in my school, and scientifically based too, I'm no kin to a monkey's no kin to me. And they might be kin to your ancestors, but mine didn't swing from a tree. And scientifically based, the blood don't mix. Blood don't mix between human beings and animals. We're in God's image, they're not. And we didn't evolve from animals. Didn't happen. The fossils are different, and they lie to you. We're not evolved. And I remember when I was working at the University of Tennessee, an anthropologist at the University of Tennessee graduated with an anthropology degree. No law enforcement, and he went on to be a sergeant, but they teach evolution in anthropology, and I was asking him, if we've evolved, where in the past 100 years have you seen evolution of human beings? I mean, are we growing tails, or how are we evolving? It hasn't happened. I haven't seen it, just in my lifetime. Have you seen it? And he said, people's wisdom teeth, we don't need them anymore. And that comparison, that's not evolution. That's not evolution at all. That's a medical surgical procedure. So how do you equate that to evolution? We do need our wisdom teeth. We can use our wisdom teeth. People have mouths that are too small for them. They have to be surgically removed. Is surgical removal in the beginning of time evolution? They actually cut and change people. I mean, that's the craziest thing I ever heard. Evolution is false. It didn't happen that way. We're created in God's image. The fossils that they have are either unusual human beings or animals that they've got rigged up to look like people. It's not real. Things aren't evolving, getting better. Things are in a fall. It's the fall of man. And things are deteriorating. New stars are not forming. They're falling apart. The universe and creation is in a decline from a perfect state. It was good. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. Evolution's not true. And my ancestors didn't swing from a monkey. They came from Adam and Eve. And humans are in God's image. We have a soul and a spirit, and we can beat horrific odds. One of the odds that I tried to beat as a fatherless child, which I was very successful, set my heart to it, was to get a high level of education in books. And I did like my mother. I took notes and studied different things. And when I was in law enforcement, I sought to be promoted by first doing a good job and having educational credentials to be able to get promoted. So knowing what you're doing. So I pursued a degree, a college degree in human resource management, a legal degree, and graduated from Tennessee Wesleyan College. Got a Bachelor of Science degree in human resource management. And then, while employed at the University of Tennessee, seeking to be a live wire, to be active in a pursuit of advancing. And I still do, and I still believe in that. I encourage everybody else to. No matter the bill of goods they sell you, what you don't matter, it does be a live wire. Don't listen to them. They're not live wires. When they grab hold of you, shock them symbolically. Don't lay around and take it off these people. They're not live wires. They're dead wires. And I always looked at my life in terms of being a live wire, going after things, not being passive, actively participating, being energized and ready to go despite opposition. And I still will today, even though they've tried to short circuit. When they grab hold of me, it is a live wire that's exposed, ready to go. They get shocked, and they're going to get shocked now, symbolically, not realistically. So I went after a college education in criminology and finished a Bachelor of Science in Human Resource Management and learn how to supervise according to the rules of law in law enforcement. They're supposed to supervise according to the rules of law. They're supposed to obey human resource management rules and abide by things like not discriminating against people and not holding people's religious beliefs against them in employment, especially in the government, and a lot of different laws and rules how to train that I learned in human resource management to apply that to a management level position, sergeant or lieutenant or higher in a law enforcement agency. You know, realistically, that's the way you should advance. That's not the way it works out in reality. They have the most dumbest, stupid people in the whole world, not all of them, but some of them that advance to high-level positions, not because of an education, and not because they've self-educated themselves without formal credentials. It's because who they know, who's their daddy, whose daddy they have that made a phone call, or the legacy. They're in the department and they pass these positions that are government positions on down, and these people don't know what they're doing. That's one of the reasons why you have YouTubers and people that film police, and they have police body cams, and they do the dumbest things. Some law enforcement officers, not all of them, some of them are very highly educated, and thank the good Lord in heaven for that. Mostly the older officers, the officers that are the most dangerous, that I've learned you have to be careful with, are the ones driving the oldest cars, because they put the newest cars first, and they don't know what they're doing sometimes. Not all of them. The ones driving the brand new cars are the older officers, and they've been on patrol for years and years and years, self-educated, and they know the law, and they know how to treat people, and you stand a real good chance of getting treated fairly and legally by older officers. A lot of them they're getting rid of unjustifiably to save them money. So, being a live wire underdog, and when we get to our signature location, we're going to talk about the underdog, the live wires that took action, that were dangerous to the establishment, that went against the odds, that thought things through, that didn't buy what they were being sold, that when you grabbed a hold of them, if the establishment did, it was exposed live wire. They got their damn hind ends shocked. And that's what we're doing to them today. Mass populace of Tennesseans. Let's be live wire. Let's shock the hell out of these people that are running over us and be the underdog and beat the establishment. There's not very many of them. So I sought an education and succeeded. I always wanted a doctorate degree. The formal education, like the Scarecrow in The Wizard of Oz. He was dumb, so they gave him a degree to formalize his knowledge and act like he was smart. And so I also self-educated myself. Got a Master of Arts in Criminology while I was at the University of Tennessee. Even after I graduated with that, I went on to try to learn how to do my job better, in spite of the University of Tennessee Medical Center promoting somebody over me without any college education at all, because he was friends with the director at the University of Tennessee, friends with the chief at the University of Tennessee Hospital Police Department. So I was holding a supervisory position, officer in charge on night shift, and I didn't have a chief to call in the middle of the night, you know, he had been asleep, or another officer. I was a highest ranking officer on the night shift at the University of Tennessee Hospital Police Department. And you know, it was a dangerous place. any shooting you have, gang shooting, police shooting, domestic dispute, any bad things that happen, people get hurt and they come to the hospital and their entourage. So, I mean, if you think it's a nice, quiet hospital with a lot of older people, they had a police department there for a reason. A lot of bad stuff happened in their emergency room. And they have a security department now for a reason, because it's a private hospital. So it was a real police department with real live serious situations going on a daily basis. And sometimes more than the University of Tennessee on the campus. And I was the highest ranking officer. I had to make decisions on my own. I didn't have somebody I could call or confer with. Of course, I conferred with other officers. And the person they promoted had no experience running a shift by himself. He worked on day shift with the director. Didn't pursue an education. He pursued cronyisms and friendships. And that's the way it doesn't work in law enforcement and in a lot of jobs. And I know millions of you all are treated the same way. You think the person they promoted over me or they're telling me how to do my job don't know how to damn well do it themselves. They're lazy and pathetic, and you'd be absolutely 150 billion% right. I'm confirming what you already know. And they shouldn't be, and they're dangerous. But we can't control everything. We can control what we do. And the chickens come home to roost when they put these stupid people in charge. You know, they're the product of even the person that promoted them's own demise. A lot of times it pays to be a live wire, to advance, to be better than everybody else, regardless. Keep going forward. Don't let them beat you down. They haven't beat me down yet. Live wire, I'm still fighting them, still shocking the hell out of them. Shock and awe. Don't let them get by with this stuff. They're weak, pathetic. They don't know what they're talking about. They survived the cheap way that's gonna pander out. It's gonna peter out. And in the long run, if we put up enough fight, if we're electrified enough, live wire exposed, we'll shock the hell out of them. We'll beat the hell out of them, symbolically. I have to be careful what I say. TBI, FBI, Knoxville Police, the Sheriff's Department, what ones ain't in jail? I'm just saying, a little bit of a joke there. They had died at 11 of them yesterday, or the other day. And I noticed Tim Burchett's on the, as a witness on the list. It's because he was the county mayor, so he was a victim representing us all victims. They stole tax money, allegedly. So live wire, I pursued an education. And you don't necessarily have to pursue an education. You can pursue knowledge and wisdom. Now you can ask God. It says in the Bible, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God that gives to all men liberally. Ask God for wisdom. Wisdom is knowing how to use knowledge. And pursue an education, read the Bible, take notes, read promises in the Bible, the ones that apply to you, and declare them to your life personally. They work. The Bible was written to you personally. It's not a book just for the masses of population. It's a book personally to every individual, I guarantee you. And there's verses in the Bible, you can self-educate yourself, that God has made promises to you as an individual that you can write them down, take notes, and pray about them, declare them. It works. It's called knowledge. And the Bible is a book, and there's a lot of excellent books where you can learn a lot of things without the college government credentials where they hand you a degree, and a lot of people don't even know what the hell they're talking about when they have a degree. They've never done the job and can't do it because they're not talented in it. So don't let a degree scare you, but that's one of the things that I pursued in order to be a live wire, pursuing knowledge like my mother. And a lot of areas that I've studied that I have no formal education in. But I studied criminology and law enforcement and have an advanced degree in that. I was a live wire, went after it. Now, apparently other people that studied how to get somewhere the cheap way advanced, but that's temporary. The person's no longer there. And they made a mess of running the police department, and the person that promoted him, Dickie Hogan himself, told me that he made a mistake, that he shouldn't have done that. Now I left that agency, went on to work for the Highway Patrol, and had a Master of Arts in criminology when I got on with Highway Patrol. The captain's son didn't have any advanced education, didn't have almost no experience in criminology. And I was about 37 years old when I got on with the Highway Patrol. And the older you are, the less chances and the less opportunities you have in life. That's the reason why we have this thing in the law. It's called age discrimination. If you're 20 and you get mistreated in a job, you have years and years to make up ground. For example, you can join the military. But if you're 37 or 38 or 40 and get discriminated against, and the law says under 40, you have supposedly legal protection under the law that if an employer doesn't treat you the same as younger people in the employment in government agencies and private agencies, even applies, Age and Employment Discrimination Act, I think it's of 1967, and it's because of age. It has to be because of age. If they treat younger people differently because they do the job better, that's fine. If you come into work and they promoted somebody over you, and they say, well, we promoted them over you because you're an old man or you're an old woman and we don't want to promote old people in this business. They're younger, sexier, and more attractive, then hey, you got a lawsuit for age discrimination because it's because of your age. And also, one of the reasons for that law is you can't do the same things and start all over. You can't join the military when you're 40. So, in effect, the Tennessee Highway Patrol got me well educated in my later life, and I should have joined the military instead of going to work for that creep, nasty, stinchy organization, which is what they are now, that promote a lot of younger people and get rid of older people to save money because they try to get rid of you before you retire so that they can get your retirement to pay people like Major Heatherly that worked in Major's position for, I think, less than a year, but she retires at Major pay. So she's getting my retirement right now, part of it, literally, quite frankly. But live wire here, I'm not taking it on the chin, I'm fighting these people to hell and back, be a live wire. Don't take everything verbatim, that's what I think, without checking into it. You may be wrong. Had I known what I know now about the lottery, I thought it was just gambling, you're wasting your money. I could have made a lot of money. So challenge your assumptions about things. You may not be always right, or you may not be 100% right, and something you're wrong about could damn well very benefit you immensely. immensely. So if it ain't written in the Bible, then it may be true or not. God's promises are always true. You can write them down and claim them. And that'll give you wisdom. Live wire, exposed, if you see the picture icon. That's the way I've always looked at my life, and I've been very successful. The things I care about are just fine. And the things that I care about that aren't just fine, that aren't that as important as the real things, which is what is publicly available. And if you've seen my channel, it's my Master of Arts in Sociology, Criminology, and my life lived experience is we're fighting these weak, stupid people in government power that are dumb as doorknobs, that have gotten somewhere by friendships and buying the system illegitimately and by a legacy. And live wire, now the establishment will tell you you can't win the lottery. Yeah, you can if you know the math. You can't win elections. You can't do this, you can't do that. Republican or Democrat. It's rigged, and it'll always be rigged, and you'll always lose. And today, much to my delight and very encouraging, hopefully to you, we're going to go over numerous cases where the underdog was a live wire, and people that grabbed him, that thought they could push him around, got the hell shocked out of him. Things don't always pan out the way these thugs, and that's what they are, they're thugs, they're worthless, useless slugs. If I may put it very clearly, is there any question about what I think about people in government power? They can be whipped bad. And that's what we're doing. Well, we're going to beat the hell out of them. And bad. We're not going to believe their false propaganda. We're going to encourage you with some truth about people that have came from nowhere, beat the odds, shocked the hell out of the system, they were exposed live wire, which is what I've always done. With that mentality and thinking, I've been able to get my doctorate degree. And a lot of you all are maybe a lot smarter than me, but I'm smarter than your average bear. And one thing I know is to be an exposed live wire. Don't let them push you around. Don't let them take what's yours. Don't believe their lies. They are weak. They're trying to fool you. They can absolutely be beat. We have overwhelming odds in our favor. The math says we can win the lottery. Even though people might have it in their mind. I had it in my mind. You can't. The math says we can make a huge, dramatic difference that staggers the hell out of them. That gives them an attitude adjustment. That blurs their damn vision symbolically. That rocks their damn world all to hell. That changes the landscape in the world, in the United States of America, in the state of Tennessee. The odds are that we can win the lottery. We can win huge concessions that you would not believe in the United States of America. The math is in our favor. There are way more of us and people who are like-minded have been divided by the parties. I've talked to people on both sides of the aisle. They both think the same. The government's dirty as hell. Well, get energized and exposed and shock the hell out of these people that don't know what the hell they're doing. They're gluttonous, freaks, sick people, and we're letting them run all over us. And we don't have to do that. We can do something about it. And we're gearing up, the math's in our favor, to do something about it. Live exposed wire. I got a doctor of jurisprudence from a fatherless home going against the odds. I should be in jail, uneducated, and beat down by people in the establishment if I believed anything they told me, and I am not. Far from it. And they have tried. Thank y'all for joining. They have tried and failed to stop me from persisting in this endeavor to overcome the lies of people in government power for the mass populace of Tennesseans. As the Indian said in Josie Wells, the Outlaw, when he snuck up on the Indian, he said the white man told him to endeavor to persevere. Well, they put him on a road, and in the wintertime when a lot of them were killed, endeavor to persevere. Yeah, persevere against them. Clint Eastwood snuck up on the Indian because he's older and he got lax. And these people have gotten lax in what they're doing. And we can beat the hell out of them. 3.5 million Tennesseans didn't participate in the election in 2025 because they've had nobody to fight for them. They've had nobody that says, we'll stand up and we'll listen to you. Whatever you say, it's your government. We'll put it in your damn favor. The government should represent the values of the populace, not the values of the elite few. And they got a facade. They are very few. And they hold 90% of the wealth. The super rich hold 90% of the wealth. And they leave us fighting for the 10% while they create division and a facade that they are doing just fine. They know how to run things, and they do. They know how to run things in the ground and destroy them and promote people over you. Not having a clue what you're doing, what they're doing. So when we get to our signature location, a beautiful view of the sun spear, then we're going to talk about people who have overcome great odds in history and been able to do what appears to be miracles. And a lot of it is. Because if God's on your side, if right's on your side, and right is not on people in government power side, that's not controversial. They're evil and wicked as hell. I don't care what banner they fly in front of their name or what religious flag they hold up. It's a joke on you. And they want to grab hold of you. And they want to put or do with you whatever they damn well please in a government that's supposed to represent you. And I'm telling you today, the way to beat this, if you want to listen to me, and I hope that you do, I've been very successful. How they say I don't know what I'm talking about. I say I got degrees from your universities, and that's just a scrape in the bucket besides the human spirit that's inside of me and the mass millions of Tennesseans that didn't show up because they had nobody to fight for them. But today you do, and you have for several years. And part of the issue with knowledge from books about politics is not money. People have won elections with little money. Money doesn't vote, people do. Part of the issue is getting the message out. Getting your message out, that's what money does. And that's what we can get around the money by, that's what people do. Spreading a message, that's free. You can like this channel and subscribe for absolutely free. That helps spread this message to more people. And the message is to try to get in power in the government, somebody that represents you that will listen to Tennesseans, a mass populace of Tennesseans. Not the loudest voices. Now the loudest voices are down there in Nashville just a few days ago. Pulling out the race card. Racism is not a significant issue. And that's not the problem that we need to be dealing with right now. Martin Luther King conquered that battle. He's a hero for the most part. And if there's racism and we really want to deal with that, then there's both sides. It's difficult to be a white woman or man in America right now. White people are discriminated against by all races. Jewish people are discriminated against. So if we want to talk about that battle, let's talk about the real battle. They've already got a frontline defense. NAACP is fighting for them every day. Where's the white organization or the Jewish organization that fights for Jewish people? They don't want to talk about that. They want to play their race card because a minority of people that are prejudiced, want to point the finger at you while they got three fingers pointing right back at them. They're the ones prejudiced. It's not a race issue. It is an issue about disparity of income and power, the super rich controlling all races. And they're going to get enough people in their management systems to hide from any kind of racists anyway. So if we overcome the disparity between the rich and the poor, then we start dealing with the race issue anyway. So that's not a fight we need to die on. The fight we need to die on is the income disparity, the lack of power in the government, the criminal actions that harm society by the rich, elite, powerful. That's not even labeled crime because they write the rule book, make their actions not even a crime, harm society without even any rule of law against that. Some of the dirty things they're doing against you, rarely if ever prosecuted. And if they are, it's because they've lost through the course of time, like it's happened here in Knox County, their legacy. They've lost their hand on power because it's been a while since they were in power. And you know, they have 11 former and one present sheriff's deputy, high chain command in the sheriff's department, has been charged with felony theft of drug money. About 7 years after the fact, they lost their grip on power. And had they been in power, and when they weren't charged. Because that's how they do things. Illegitimately, and even when they do break the law, they don't do a day in jail. The problem in America, the problem in the state of Tennessee, is a sociological problem of disparity between the rich and the poor, between the have and have-nots. That's the issue in Tennessee. that we need to fight. That's a ever-present problem every day. You can't get a fair hearing in a Tennessee courtroom for the most part. You get home cooked by Matt Perry, by Cameron Sexton, by former Governor Bill Haslam, who's really in power, stands behind the curtains and with his money buys almost every courtroom in the state that judges adjudicate in his favor. That's dirty and wicked and cruel as hell, and they've been used to doing that to people. They grab the wire that has no power, well insulated, and do whatever the hell they want to it because they've sold you the bill of false goods that you can't do anything about it. And people have got that in their minds without investigating the true odds. They're overwhelming in our favor, just like the lottery. I would have never thought you could make money start a corporation off the lottery. As you look at the beautiful view, we'll see how many people we have on here. But you can. You can make a living, you could, off the lottery. Statistically, mathematically, a man and his wife started a business, a corporation, off buying lottery tickets. In my mind, buying a lottery ticket was crazy. You're paying a tax, self-imposed tax on yourself, giving the government money that they can do whatever they please with. You're foolish for doing that. That was in my mind, and in most cases, absolutely, positively, you are. We can't win elections. It's all rigged. You have to be Republican or Democrat. You can't go against the grain. They own the news media. They own the courts. They have the money. Statistically impossible. You played and lost before. You can't win the lottery. When a man set up a business on that very thing and won a hell of a lot of money, made a living off of it, started a corporation, playing the lottery, I should have opened my eyes and looked into the math. Just check it out. I could have made a lot of money playing the lottery. That didn't cross my mind. And I'm asking you to be a live wire, be energized, be uncovered, live wire against these people in public office that lie to you on a daily basis, mistreat you, and are very dangerous to you, horrifically dangerous. It's something that you gotta do something about. It's not about getting another dollar. It's about keeping your livelihoods and your life and your freedom fighting these people. You have no choice. So even if the odds were against us, and they're not, they're absolutely not, we still have to put up a fight. And the good news is, like the lottery, if you think that it can't be won, that we can't get major concessions, then you're wrong. You're not thinking about it logically and realistically. You're buying their logic that sounds pretty good. Playing the lottery is stupid as hell. Trying to win public office or win public power or get political clout is stupid as hell. You can't do it. And they got the money, they got the clout, they got the party, and they got the friends, they got the connections, and millions of Tennesseans don't even try. Don't even try. We'll leave you laying. We'll punish you for trying, which is what they're trying to punish me. Don't buy that. Don't buy that garbage. I don't buy it. That's why I'm out here with a cell phone on YouTube and other channels spreading the message that we can win. I'm not listening to what they're saying. You don't either. Listen to what they're saying as far as any advantage we can get tactically Listen to them. Sure, listen to every word they say to find the holes, to gain ground, to get an advantage, but don't listen to what they say as far as you can't beat us. That's not going to happen. We'll make it worse on you. Don't listen to that. That's out of the question. That's a ballpark, a ball field. We're not playing in that field. That's not our game. We're winning in the mass public opinion, public perception. I know what their perception is. They make it very clear. I don't agree with it. I don't buy it. It's not true. It's not real. I'm not going along with fantasy. Now, they can tell me anything I want to, anything they want to. I'm listening to what they say to try to get an advantage, to expose them, to shock the hell out of them with a live wire. And they're not going to unplug or demoralize or cover up the wire. They grab hold of us and it's on. And we will get concessions. This is winnable. The math's in our favor. And the light's green. It's go. We're not making up our mind. It's not a choice that we're deciding. It's on. A lot of officers get killed. And they showed us this at the academy. A tactical advantage. By being indecisive, by not picking up clues, and waiting too late to respond. They showed us in the academy, case after case after case, where officers were in deadly force situations where they should have defended themselves, and they did not. For whatever reason, they waited too late, and they were killed by an aggressor, feloniously killed. So look at the beautiful view. Killed feloniously by an aggressor that they gave signals. They could have defended themselves, but they didn't act. They didn't pay attention to what they should have been paying attention to. And they failed to act, and they got killed by an aggressor. They should have acted. They waited. If you haven't noticed, it's a little hot out here today. My office is hot, but it's a lot more beautiful than that stenchy, crooked courtroom. So, they acted too late. They show a video, numerous ones, one in particular where a man was. A police officer stopped a car, a man was getting out of the car with a shotgun, literally had a shotgun. Getting out, you could see it, the deputy saw the shotgun, and he was saying, drop the shotgun, drop the gun, drop the gun. He was still turning around. And the deputy still hollering, drop the gun, drop the gun. Just continued to give him verbal commands to drop the shotgun. The man turns around, fires a shot at the deputy, and killed the deputy. He didn't act. He didn't defend himself. Instead of saying, drop the gun at a certain point, he should have fired at the man and stopped him. What was obvious, he was turning a shotgun around on him, and not listening to his verbal command. The deputy got killed. He failed to act. He didn't pick up on the signals that were obvious right in front of his face. So let's pick up the signals. Live wire. Be ready. Underdog wins are not accidents. Every single one follows the same pattern. Cool head, unconventional weapons, and a giant too arrogant to see it coming. That's not luck. That's a blueprint. The science. A peer-reviewed study in the Academy of Management Journal proved it. Being told you're going to lose makes you perform better. Low expectations are rocket fuel. As long as you don't believe the people doubting you. We can't believe that we can't win. Look at the math. Look at reality. The reality is we outnumber them by several million, 3.5 million to 1 million people in the state of Tennessee. And that's not counting the people that on their side that we can flip, that we can get the truth in them, that we can convince the obvious they're turning the shotgun around on you. We need to act. We need to go to the polls and vote. And even if we don't win election, the governor's race or elections, we can still have huge, dramatic impact that rocks the way they're able to do things significantly. If we don't, the alternative symbolically is the shotgun coming at you and blowing you away. You could be in one of their jail cells that you pay for. You're paying for your own jail cell right now. They're building them for you. Got over 100 people in here. So let's let low expectations be rocket fuel, because the math is in our favor hugely, and they know it. That's the reason why they try to lock me up, try to demoralize and humiliate me, because they know mathematically we are damaging them in a good way. God wrote the original underdog manual. The Holy Bible is a book of underdogs. Scripture says it deliberately picks the weak to shame the strong. 1 Corinthians 1:27, not because he had no other options, because God wants all the glory. How could it have taken place without the intervention of God Almighty? A lot of times, that's what God wants to show people, that it was the weak, the fatherless, the handicapped, the apparently unable, the less powerful, who brought down the big guy, the one in power. So it had to be by divine intervention. A lot of times that's the case. So even if the numbers aren't in your favor, if God's on your side, live wire, uncovered, charge on. It works. Righteousness pays. Evil, wicked people in government power don't. So, Eric Cantor was the sitting U.S. House Majority Leader, the number 2 Republican in Congress, heir apparent to the speakership with the full weight of the Washington establishment behind him. Dave Brett was an economic professor from a small village college, no name recognition, no machine, no pact. In the 2014 Republican primary, Cantor spent $5 million. Brett spent $122,000. 40-1. Brett won 55-44 and became the first sitting House Majority Leader ever defeated in a primary since the position was created in 1899. Brett's line on election night: dollars do not vote, you do. The billions behind these political stars that are in the government now, Ray up slopes that are they're in complete control, are things going well for you, or did you get hit by the barrel? That are not doing a good job for you. Got the establishment behind them. Their money don't vote. Dollars do not vote, you do. Money buys noise, it does not buy the truth. We have the truth. We stand on the truth. If we're wrong about something, we'll apologize and correct it. They won't. They haven't, they're in power now. Theodore Roosevelt said it in 1910, and it still cuts. The credit belongs to the man in the arena. face marred by dust, sweat, and blood. And mine's been marred pretty bad. And what you do is you spit the blood out of your mouth and make it rocket fuel. It didn't kill you. It numbed you enough to charge forward. Not the critic in the stands who never suited up. You're in the arena. They're in the stands. We're in the arena. 3.5 million Tennesseans, get in the arena. Like the show, share the show, subscribe to the channel, help us get the message out. We're getting it out. And if you're sitting there a naysayer, we're getting it out around you. And if you grab the wire, it's uncovered, you'll get shocked too. We're on the way. And we're in the fight and not in the stands. So, Salamis, 480 BC, 368 Greek ships versus 1,200 Persian ships. 68, 1,200. The Greeks didn't fight in open water. They pulled the Persians into a strait so narrow the giant fleet couldn't turn around. Tyranny is big, truth is fast. Subscribe to the channel, and if you can, donate money, contribute money to your cause. I'll be here daily, not necessarily broadcasting, fighting this fight for Tennesseans. And we are making a difference. If you just gauge it by impact, the things they've done dirty to me. Why? It was because they don't like my message. It's having an effect on the mass millions of Tennesseans. The math's in our favor. We can win the lottery by doing the math, as the man did that started a corporation. We're going over underdog stories where people kept the faith. Even when the odds didn't matter, God still does. But the odds are in our favor. Washington's army had no shoes, no coats, smallpox, and Congress plotting to replace him. 6 months later, they marched out, trained, and went on to win the whole war. The freeze didn't kill them, it forged them. Let the problems, the odds, the oppression forge us to fight harder, to go faster, to do more. Strategically, we can beat these people. And we're talking about how to beat the system. The underdog, clobbering them, and we can. Truman, 1948, every poll said Dewey wins. 78% of newspapers endorsed Dewey. 78%. Chicago Tribune printed 150,000 copies of Dewey defeats Truman. Now, I've been in the papers where it says bad stuff about me. That's not true. Thousands of copies of newspapers, more than one, that are false information, just succumb. It's not true. No, it's that simple. You don't have to go along with lies. Don't do it. Don't believe it. You don't have to march into gunfire, but you don't have to go along with lies. Strategically. I'm not going along with thousands of copies of newspapers, and then even other editions that have tried to annihilate and humiliate me. It's easy to prove it's not the truth. So the Chicago Tribune, the Knoxville News Sentinel printed things about me. Every news channel in the city of Knoxville printed false stuff about me, put out trash. More than one show. Well, I didn't buy it. because I know I was there. It wasn't true. And I thought, how can they say this stuff? I know that's not what happened. Tried to humiliate me. When I was over 40, had less opportunities. I knew it wasn't true. I knew it wasn't true then, and I know it's not true now. They printed copies. I don't buy it. Chicago Tribune printed 150,000 copies of Dooley defeats Truman. That's what they printed. Was it true? Truman held that paper up the next morning grinning. They buried him before the votes were counted. This fight isn't over, people in government power. It's ongoing. And you're going to lose. Hello. Because you don't have the truth. I win the truth. Being right matters. They don't think it does. A principle in the Word of God. Why do the heathen rage and the people imagine a vain thing in the book of Psalms? Why do they not hold on to the truth? Because they think the truth doesn't matter. There's no God. It doesn't matter. There's no morality. There's no right and wrong. Yes, there is. I don't beg to differ. I proudly announce that righteousness matters. The paper was false. Truman won. The papers, the lies about me and the mass populace of Tennesseans are false. We win. Miracle on ice. The Cold War was a decade-long standoff between the United States and the Soviet Union. Many of you all may not remember this. Two nuclear superpowers locked into a battle for global dominance. No direct combat, just fear, propaganda, and a race to prove whose system was superior. By 1980, America was losing on every front. Soviet tanks had just invaded Afghanistan. 42 Americans were being held hostage in Iran. They're getting paid back for that today, aren't they? Gas lines, inflation, a country demoralized. Like they're trying to do to us. Then 14 American college kids, average age 21, skated out onto the ice at Lake Placid, New York, against the Soviet national hockey team. The Soviets were professionals. The best damn team on the planet on Earth. 2 weeks later, they had beaten those same Americans, the American college kids, beating a professional team, 10-3 in an exhibition. They beat them on February 28, 1980. Those kids beat them, the same professional team that beat the college kids from the Soviet Union, 10-3 in an exhibition game. A few months earlier, beat the Soviet team in 1980, 4-3. Broadcaster Al Michaels asked the question the whole country was feeling, do you believe in miracles? The answer was yes. Do you believe in miracles? Yes, I absolutely positively do. Who can stay God's hand? Whatever he says is the way, is what's going to win the day. Buster Douglas. Remember him? Mike Tyson was 37-0, undefeated. A very horrific man to fight. He beat people in seconds in the first round, knocked them out cold. The only Vegas book that we even post a line had Douglas at 42-1. Douglas' mother died at 23 days before the fight. Rocket fuel. He had the flu the night before. Rocket fuel. He knocked Tyson out in the 10th round. Now what's our excuse? Leicester City, the English Premier League, is the richest soccer league on earth. Billion-dollar club. Global superstars. In 2015, bookmakers posted a small working class club in England called Leicester City at 5,000-1 to win the championship. So this small team, soccer team, had one chance out of 5,000 to win the league championships. To put that in perspective, if you bet $1 on Leicester City and they won, you walked out with $5,000, but nobody practically wanted to risk $1. I'm telling you, risk your vote on this movement. Vote, voters of truth and rage. They give us lower than 5,000 to 1. Most people won't risk $1 on something that unlikely. Leicester didn't care what the odds were. They had just barely avoided getting kicked out of the league the year before. No stars, no money. It's a pretty good position. Their best player had been cut by every professional club and was playing public league soccer at age 23. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wants me in their parties, yeah. They refused to play the big Cubs game, let the Giants come to them. Then they hit fast before they could recover, turned the establishment's greatest strength into their biggest weaknesses. 5,000 to 1, champions of England now. They won the championship. 5,000 to 1 odds. It can be done. At a minimum, major concessions to stop the abuse of the people in power in the state of Tennessee. We can win the whole championship. Istanbul 2005, May 25th, 2005. Champions League final, the Super Bowl of world soccer. Liverpool was down 3-0 at halftime against the best club in Europe. Bookmakers posted them to 100 to 1 to come back. 3 goals in 6 minutes, 1 on penalties. The British bookmaking guster lost over $2 million in one night. Think of all these people, all these establishments, all these corporations that are funding these campaigns of these establishment governor candidates. Think how much money they will lose if their candidate doesn't win. Now, they got money on both sides. They got money given to Democrats, money given to Republicans. So no matter which one wins, they still have their foot in power. We gave to your campaign, Republicans. We gave to your campaign, Democratic candidate. They're banking on a Republican winning. They're giving most of the money to them, but they got their hand in both. But just think if somebody from the outside wins. They're not funding my campaign. People are, grassroots. I've talked to people in Tennessee. Think how much money they lose. That they need to lose. They don't need to buy the government away from you. And that's what they're doing. Even Maradona, the greatest soccer player who ever lived, said the English club proved that miracles really do exist. When they tell you it's over, it's not over. They don't even have me listed in a lot of questionnaires by establishment campaigns. Why is that? Because they give me no chance of winning, or basically any damn voice. Like, share, and comment. They're writing us off, ruling for the establishment. And even the independent candidates that they're promoting, some of them are claiming to be lawyers that weren't in the past, members of racist organizations, the racist people, criminals, people that were convicted of crimes, and they're trying to say all that about me. So I believe in miracles. David and Goliath, as I mentioned several times. Goliath was 9 feet tall with armor, weighing over 100 pounds. David was a shepherd boy with a sling and 5 smooth stones. The verse David spoke before he let it fly: "You come at me with a sword and spear." And me, as a Tennessean, mistreated by the government, you come at me with numerous thousands of newspaper articles over a period of time with damn dirty, nasty lies, false civil accusations. I come at you in the name of the Lord Almighty, one stone, giant down. In the name of truth, I come at them. Gideon, 300. God told Gideon, 32,000 soldiers were too many. I need more and more and more. In my mind, I've got 3,000 viewers in the past about 7 months. I got 1,800 votes all across the state of Tennessee in every single county except for one. I knocked on 40,000 doors in 2022, 10,000 in Knoxville. In my mind, it obviously wasn't enough because I didn't get the votes because of defamation. I need more and more and more. In God's scorebook, spiritually speaking, and reality, tactically, no, you don't. You may need less. You need effective people, not necessarily more. God told Gideon 32,000 soldiers was too many. So let's not worry about the numbers. We need the correct numbers in order to win, not keeping on worrying about more and more. God might even say, cut something back that you think helps you win. Be strategic, not worrying about numbers that maybe don't matter. God told Gideon 32,000 soldiers was too many. He's going to war and he's telling them, you got too many soldiers, too many fighters. Wow, imagine that strategically. He's told him to cut 300 people. Maybe cut a few days out of my channel, not broadcasting them. Maybe don't worry about trying to get as much money. Maybe don't try to worry about knocking on 40,000 doors again. Maybe 20,000 or 25 will do the right doors. More and more and more. God said less, strategic. 300 farmers with clay jars, trumpets, routed 120,000 enemy troops. God's reason, if I give you too many men, you'll take credit. He stripped it down so no man could boast. 300 verses, 120,000. God doesn't need any numbers. God doesn't need your numbers. God has the truth. We need to be on God's side, and God will win and carry us through. And strategically, going after more frivolous, that doesn't help the cause of voters of truth and rage, is a useless waste of time. Strategic advancement with the right people. And if you're listening, you're the right people. Thank the Lord God in heaven for you. If you're on here and you're against us, hey, go right ahead. You're still helping the channel. Joseph in the pit. Joseph's brothers threw him in a pit and sold him into slavery. Hey, I've been thrown in the pit by a family. Good luck with that, because that's not the end of it. He was falsely accused. He sat in prison. Both of those. I've been falsely accused and sat in a jail cell. I'm the real thing. I'm not a fake. I've got real scars. I've literally been taken off the campaign. Not like the rich people. They'll never be in jail. Even the ones that get charged, even the indictment. Let's wait down the road and see if any of them actually do jail time. And I doubt it. Then God made him second in command of Egypt, and he saved a continent from famine. We're wanting to save Tennesseans, the mass populace, from a rogue government. I know it, I've seen it. His line to his brothers, you intended to harm me, and they do. They want to harm me bad. Don't be mistaken. They're out to get me. They're out to get you. They're not passively letting you go. They're trying to get you. They don't like you. They hate your guts. You can't be passive anymore. God made him second in command of Egypt, and he saved a continent from famine. His line to his brothers, you intended harm to me. God intended it for good. The pit is not the end. So when you're in the pit, when you're on the sidewalk, although it is beautiful, that's not the end. It absolutely is not. The truth matters, has weight and value more than a lie, even when it doesn't appear like it. Appearances can be very deceiving. The truth is always the truth, even when it's branded not by people in authority. Doesn't matter, they're wrong. Even when it's not winning, it's still the truth, because it will eventually in God's divine providence. Paul in chains. The Apostle Paul wrote most of the New Testament from a prison cell. He was beaten, shipwrecked, and eventually executed. Now, I don't see that as my end. His message reached 2.3 billion people back in that day when they didn't have an internet. The chain on your ankles does not chain your voice, and they haven't chained my voice. Frederick Douglass was born a slave in Maryland, never knew his own birthday. Slaves weren't given that. His father was likely his white slave's master. He taught himself to read in secret. It was illegal for slaves to be educated. At age 20, he escaped to the north disguised as a sailor. Then he did something that took iron courage. He started speaking publicly about his life as a slave using his real name. Started speaking publicly about my life using my real name. How dare I? It'll get you a jail cell telling the truth. Then he did something that took iron courage. He started speaking publicly about his life as a slave using his real name. That meant slave catchers could legally drag him back into chains. He didn't care. He stood on stages across America and described slavery in detail to audience who had never seen it up close, describing government abuse in detail up close in federal suit, on YouTube, a lot of social media channels, in the public, and running for public office all across the state. He described the abuse of government, slavery in detail to audience who had never seen it up close. He became the most powerful political voice of his generation because of his bravery, speaking up when it wasn't popular, when it could have damaged him, like us now. He became the most powerful political voice of his generation, advisor to Abraham Lincoln, his own newspaper, his own voice, a man who legally owned his property, became the conscience of a nation. A slave, didn't know his birth date, didn't know his daddy, probably was a slave owner, but spoke up with the potential of his own demise. Does that sound familiar? In 1857, when he could still legally be returned to slavery, he stood up and said this. Now listen to this. Concede nothing without a demand. That's what I'm saying. Concede nothing. Live wire. Uncovered. It never did, and it never will. People in power won't give. The limits of tyrants are prescribed by the endurance of those who they oppress. So, they keep going as long as we let them. He was talking about himself. He was talking about every person in this system has ever tried to silence. He was talking about Tennessee. Stop enduring, start demanding at the polls. Churchill. Everybody remember Winston Churchill? I'll explain it. He was an aristocrat. We'll keep going in spite of dirty looks. That's a system where power is held by a small privileged ruling class who pass the power among themselves and keep everyone else out. That's what's going on in America today. You don't call it aristocracy in America. You call it old money. political dynasties, the donor class, the machine, the good old boy network. Different name, same system. Winston Churchill was born into it. That ruling class in England in 1874. Same thing going on today. Aristocracy. Aristocracy. It's going on in America. And he even got frozen out for telling the truth himself, even though he was in it. That's why people even in the system that know better go along to get along. He spent the 1930s warning anyone who would listen that Adolf Hitler was building a war machine that would consume Europe. Nobody listened. I'm telling people the government in the state of Tennessee is building a system that's going to make it where we can't even spread the gospel of Jesus Christ. Building a system of ultimate control by them writing laws in their favor that we won't get back. Nobody wanted to hear it. They called him a warmonger, an alarmist, a has-been, pushed out of power, a decade in the political wilderness, one man with truth and no audience willing to listen. Then Hitler invaded Portland. Suddenly Churchill was the only man in England who had been right all along. I'm right all along. In May 1940, he became prime minister. Nazi Germany had already conquered France. Britain stood completely alone. His own cabinet was pushing him to negotiate with Hitler. Wow, negotiate with Hitler. Negotiate with people in power. No, thank you. There's no negotiation. They'll only pull a trick. Churchill refused. Flat out refused. He told the British people the truth. It was going to be brutal. It was going to be bloody, and they were going to fight anyway. Now, this is going to be bloody and brutal. Well, this guy here is going to be very upset and blowing his horn trying to get around the car here. It's all right. So nice lady. So, late for work probably. Be careful driving. People will run over you late for work. Nobody wanted to hear Winston Churchill. And then after what he said come to fruition, they wanted him to negotiate with the enemy that he had been speaking about for years. No, thank you. It's called character. He became the prime minister. Nazi Germany had already conquered France. Britain stood completely alone. His own cabinet was pushing him to negotiate with Hitler. Negotiate with somebody that it was exterminating Jews, children, 6 million of them. No, thank you. We're not negotiating with people in power that are doing horrific things against you. And I'm not talking about violence towards them. This isn't that kind of fight. This is a political fight for the hearts and minds and souls of the mass millions of Tennesseans non-violently at the polls. Messaging. And Winston Churchill flat out refused. He told the British people the truth. This is going to be brutal. And I'm telling you all in Tennessee, this is going to be brutal. The more advanced we get, the more likely we're winning it'll get worse. Apparently, they'll start putting more pressure on. It's going to be bloody politically, very. It already has been. Already done time in a jail cell. Already had false civil litigation against me. And they're going to fight. I'm going to fight anyway. I've got bruised, healed, and some padding. Then he said, here's what he said, and this is what I'm telling Tennesseans, the mass populace, my followers, like and subscribe, share, contribute if you can. Here's what he said, never, 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 never. In nothing great or small, large or petty, never give in. Churchill was born into the autocracy and still got frozen out for telling the truth. What do you think they do to a boy from Tennessee with no family, money, and no machine behind him? That's the same thing every time until the truth arrives. Never give in. Never give in. Now, I thought about Dr. Martin Luther King sitting in a jail cell in Hamilton County, Tennessee, falsely arrested for fighting for the mass populace of Tennesseans against the dangerous, dirty, lying, crooked machine. April 16th, 1963, Birmingham City Jail, Alabama. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. had been arrested for marching for civil rights in the streets. I got arrested for legally being on the ballot asking people to vote for me. No computer, no desk, no legal pad at first. He started writing in the margins of a newspaper. Then on scraps of paper smuggled in by supporters. Then finally on a notepad his attorney was allowed to bring him. He was writing to a response to 8 white clergymen who had published an open letter calling his demonstrations unwise and untimely, and telling him to be patient, to wait, to slow down, to work through the proper channels. Telling him, Dr. Martin Luther King, obviously it's not working for you. Wait, slow down, change what you're doing. Dr. Martin Luther King, and I've learned lessons from his social movement. No, he didn't cuss, I do. Hell no. Tell him that from a jail cell. Locked up for walking peacefully down the street. Dr. King wrote back, and I'm Dr. Charles Van Morgan, JD, and I'm writing back to the mass populace of Tennesseans. He wrote the most powerful letter in American political history. Now, I've been in that jail cell. Here's my letter to the mass populace of Tennesseans. The government in power, a lot of them listening, don't doubt it. We know through painful experience, I know for a fact myself, others do too, that freedom is never voluntarily given by the oppressor. They're not going to give us our government. It's not going to happen. It must be demanded by the oppressed. I demand it here today when I signed on to the ballot years ago. He was locked up when he wrote it, arrested for telling the truth. The words outlived the cell. The words outlived the man who put him there. The words outlived the jail itself, and they still are true today in the state of Tennessee. They're not going to voluntarily give up. The oppressor won't. We demand it. Tennessee has always had a boss. Boss Crump. They just changed the name every generation. Ed Crump was born in Mississippi in 1874 and moved to Memphis, where he built the most powerful and political machine in Tennessee history. Boss Crump. We can learn from history. Got that going on today. He ran Memphis, much of the state, for over 40 years, controlled the judges, controlled the sheriffs, controlled who got city contracts, controlled who got elected, didn't even always hold office himself, like Mr. Bill has been. A lot of people behind the scenes. He just controlled every person who did. He don't control me. A loose cannon out here. If you wanted anything in Tennessee politics, you went through Crump. Sound familiar? In 1948, a young Tennessee congressman named Estates Kefever decided he had had enough. Born in Madisonville, Tennessee, small town, working class roots, University of Tennessee, Yale Law School, independent, incorruptible, a reformer from day one. He ran for U.S. Senate against Crump's hand-picked candidate. Now here's something important. Kefever was a Democrat. Crump was a Democrat. Didn't matter which one man decided to take on the machine. Party label is irrelevant. The machine is the machine. It doesn't care what letter is behind your name. It only cares about control. Crump took out a full-page newspaper ad calling Kefever a pet coon, sneaking around for communist. You know what Kefauver did? He showed up in Memphis, Crump's home turf, wearing a Cascoon cap and looked the machine dead in the eye and said, "I may be a pet coon, but I'm not Boss Crump's pet coon. I'm not a pet coon of the establishment." That's what I'm saying. He won. Then his Senate hearings on organized crime drew 30 million television viewers. The first major televised congressional hearings in American history. Time magazine reported that dishes stood in sinks, babies went unfed, and department stores emptied while the hearings were on. One man, 3.5 million Tennesseans, one Cascoon cap, one corrupt machine took apart on live television. Tennessee has always had a Boss Crump, and Tennessee has always someone willing to put on the caps. Coon skin cap, I'm putting that cap on. The wire is alive. Let me tell you my story. I passed the Tennessee bar exam twice. They refused to license me twice, illegitimately. I served 18 years in law enforcement. They lied about me. I was the top DUI enforcer, the top law lifesaver. Not one of the troopers are number one for years. They terminated me anyway. I knocked on 40,000 doors across 95 counties running for governor in 2022 with no money, no machine. I got 1,800 votes. Votes in every county with the exception of the small one. I ran for Knoxville City Council. The press defamed me, exalted the party candidates, blurred me. I got the lowest vote count on the ballot. I'm not listening. They laughed again. I filed a federal civil lawsuit challenging them. Unconstitutional rules that block my bar license. The judge denied their motion to dismiss. Nobody laughed at that. I got back here on this governor's ballot in 2026. What part of I'm not stopping do they not understand? The truth matters. 3 million views, built from nothing. No corporate money, no party machine, just a camera and the damn truth. It matters. But here's what I need you to understand. The fight was never just about me. It's never about my bar license. It's about getting my bar license to protect Tennesseans from the road court system. It's not about my job with THP. That was about protecting you. It's about every person in Tennessee who's ever been crushed by that system that protects the powerful and buries the honest. Every trooper who told the truth and got fired for it. Every lawyer who wouldn't play ball and got blacklisted for it. And every voter who cast a ballot for someone in the machine and the machine decided to destroy you. I'm fighting this fight for them, for you, and I'm not going away. Not today, not ever. The wire is live and it's not going dark. Not on this watch. They grabbed his wire for years because they thought it was dead. They picked people up, used them, and threw them away. Nobody fought back. Nobody had power. The wire is live now, and it's bare. No insulation, no cover. Raw truth was charged. You grab this wire, of the 3.5 million Tennesseans and the ones we can flip that we're going after, you get what's coming to you. Welcome to Live Wire. Bare. And we have more. Let's see how many people we have on here. Wow, like, share, and contribute. The FBI whistleblower, Garrett Boyle, found out the federal government was targeting pro-life Americans and traditional Catholics. He told the truth about it. The FBI, they suspended him, pulled his security clearance. His family went nearly 3 years with no income, no badge, no clearance, just a man who told the truth and got crushed for it. For standing up for people who are pro-life. And Then in August 27, 2025, the Department of Justice gave him everything back. Full reinstatement, back pay, damages, clearance restored. The system tried to bury him. The truth wouldn't stay buried. That's Jeremiah and the Christian, thrown in a mud pit for telling the truth, pulled out alive. Air Force Captain. Captain Adam Dorito spent years exposing corruption and abuse inside the United States Air Force Academy. I've spent years calling out corruption, in the Tennessee government. They silenced him, pushed him out. Years of hell for one man telling the truth about what was happening inside a federal institution. In August 2025, the Director of Intelligence confirmed every single one of his reports was accurate. The federal government put it in writing. He was right. They were wrong. Truth tellers will not be forgotten. The Chattanooga mom fighting for her child, the human spirit. An 11-year-old autistic boy in Chattanooga said something at school. A trained ear would have heard it as innocent. Chattanooga Preparatory School called the police anyway under Tennessee threats of mass violence law. The juvenile case was thrown out in December 2024. The family sued on May 30th, 2025. The school paid the family $100,000, the first settlement ever under the law, and changed their training. One Tennessee mom, one artistic boy, one lawyer. They beat the system. That's a David and Goliath story right there. The less powerful can win. And they do a lot. So 13,000 outsiders won. We're going to talk about what they're trying to tell outsiders falsely. It's not true. The math doesn't support their version of events. Last year, more than 13,000 candidates won elections all across America with no party behind them. How the party's working for you? No Republican machine, no Democrat machine, just people. Ohio alone had 1,200 wins. People running for public office without a party behind them. You can't win. They did. Minnesota over 1,000. Washington State jumped from 22 independent wins in 2024 to 718 in 2025. The two-party system told you it can't be done. 13,000 people did it anyway last year. That's not a ceiling being approached. That's a floor being established, and it's going up from there. Independents can win. Not independent of the people, independent of the people in power. Elijah was one man, one prophet of the Lord standing against 450 prophets of Baal on Mount Carmel. He looked at the crowd and said in 1 Kings 18:22, I only remain a prophet of the Lord, but Baal prophets are 450 men. So he was outnumbered 1 to 450, but he had a real God. Then he soaked the altar with water. He made it even harder for him to win. On purpose, and called on God. I call on God today. The fire fell and consumed everything. The wood, the stones, the water in the trench, every bit of it. 450 versus 1. And if you don't think we're making a difference, listen to all these people who know where we broadcast from and make a noise with their car like nobody else heard. They know this channel is prolific. Thanks for joining. It's a truth channel, Unbridled News. Charles Van Morgan. We're making a difference. 1 against millions is what they would say. I say it's millions, 350 million Tennesseans that didn't register, didn't vote against very few Republicans and Democrats. And we're winning in other states. Independence. Nehemiah swore and troll. Nehemiah was rebuilding the wall of Jerusalem. His enemies mocked him. Sanballat laughed. Tobiah said a fox could knock it down. They plotted to attack and stop the work. Nehemiah didn't stop. He armed every single worker. Nehemiah 14:17. Everyone with one of his hands wrought in the work and with the other hand held a weapon. So they built and held a weapon. Build with one hand, fight with the other. And that's the way we're going to have to do it. When they tried to lure him away from the wall, Nehemiah 6:3, he said, I'm doing a great work. We're doing a great work so that I cannot come down. I'm doing a great work, I cannot come down. We're doing a great work, we can't come down. Jeremiah in the mud. Jeremiah told the truth to people who didn't want to hear it at the time. The princess called him a traitor. The king handed him over. They took him with robes and lowered him into a muddy, crushed in a pit to die. No water, just mud. He sank in it. That's what they did to truth tellers. That's what they did to truth tellers. They don't always kill you outright. They just put you somewhere dark and wet and let you sink. Jeremiah 29. His word was in his heart like a burning fire, shut up in his bones. He couldn't stop. He sank in the mud and it still couldn't stop him. Thank you, Honey Horse 4597. I appreciate it. I'll watch two dudes behind you with a bat duck. And thank the Lord for emergency personnel. An Ethiopian named Ebed Malek pulled him out with old rags. God always sends somebody. Don't quit in the mud. Job. Job lost everything in a single day. Livestock, servants, all 10 of his children, his health, his friends turned on him. He sat in ashes, scraping his sores with broken pottery. And he said, Job 121, the Lord gave and the Lord hath taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. Blessed be the name of the Lord. And Job 13:15, though he slay me, yet will I trust him. In the end, God gave him double everything he lost. Job 42:10, the man who lost it all got it back twice over. Hold on. Blessed be the name of the Lord in the pit, in the trial, in the trouble. God wants you there. Uncomfortable however it may be, if you're in God's will, praise the Lord in the trouble. It's God's will. It won't always be that way. If you're ever in the ditch, in the bad, in the wrong, in the oppression, in the government we have now in the state of Tennessee, don't ever allege that God is doing you wrong by not being fair to you because you did right and you are suffering. Thank God for the suffering, because God is always right in His divine providence. He cannot be wrong. He's never done anything wrong. He's never lied. It is not God's fault. And it's not helpful. It is very harmful and hurtful. Praise God in the trouble. If you're in God's will, realizing But that's God's where He wants you to be, and thank the good Lord in heaven, and don't challenge the Almighty God. He put you there for a reason in His divine purpose and providence, even if you don't know. It's God's will. Be thankful, because God knows what He's doing. I don't sometimes. We don't. God does. Thank God in all things, regardless of the circumstance. It's easy to praise God when you're governor of the state or your bank account is full. It's more difficult to trust God in the bad times when it matters, and easy to accuse God. I did right and bad still happened. No. We are not in any position to ever challenge the hand of the Almighty God. Thank Him in all things is productive and shows faith in God Almighty despite the circumstance. That's called being a live wire, uncovered, trusting in God. And that's how you persevere, because you know you're on the right side of God in spite of the trouble. If the trouble is because of your goodness, if you did something wrong, correct it. Never challenge God. God's never been wrong. He's never done anybody wrong on the face of the planet. Not one time. He actually sent His Son, Jesus Christ, God in the flesh, to give His life to pay your penalty for you that you deserve. Eternal punishment. God loves the world. So even in hard times, thank the good Lord in heaven. I thank God for my trouble. It's taught me lessons. It's been beneficial. Now I'll give you this. I don't like it. I pray to get out of it, but I thank God for it. God's never done me wrong, not one time. If I never get anywhere, God didn't do anything wrong to Charles Van Morgan. I'm not in any position to judge God. I will not do that. I'm smarter than that. You would be much obliged to follow that program. God is good, great, perfect, sent His Son. Charles Van Morgan is not always. That's just the truth. I strive to be. And God's not to blame for any bad thing that's ever happened to me. King Nebuchadnezzar built a golden image and told everyone to bow or burn. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego refused. The king had the furnace heated 7 times hotter, threw them in. The soldiers who threw them in died from the heat. Then Nebuchadnezzar looked into the furnace and saw 4 men walking around. The soldiers that threw them in dead, and they're in there walking around. And there's not 3 of them. There's 4. Daniel 3:25, the form of the 4th looked like the Son of God. They walked out, not a hair singed, not a smell of smoke. They refused to bow to the machine. The machine couldn't touch them. When they tell you to bow down or burn, don't bow. When they tell you who to vote for, don't vote for them. Daniel and the lions. Daniel's enemies couldn't find anything wrong with him. No corruption, no dirt, nothing. So they wrote a law making his prayer life a crime. If you think you're not committing any crimes, Cameron Sexton, Bill Lee, Bill has been, the judges will adjudicate that what you're doing right is a crime. They write the rules, write the book. They rate the system, rob, steal, and write that into the law as they're allowed to do this. You can't get along, go along. They'll put dirt on you. So they wrote a law making his prayer life a crime, had him thrown to the lions. King Darius couldn't sleep that night. At dawn, he ran to the den. Daniel 6:22. My God has sent his angels and hath shut the lion's mouth. They couldn't find dirt on Daniel, so they criminalized his faith. You can listen to me in the tape where I spoke to the dishonorable Tennessee court in the state of Tennessee, where they were charging me with civil offenses because I was running for government office. I said I pray for people that they'll be exposed for their wickedness against me. They criminalized faith, ruled against me. Go ahead. I still pray today. I pray that those judges will be exposed for backing up the governors in their illicit, illegitimate laws and criminal offenses and civil offenses against the mass Tennesseans, and hold them accountable and put them in jail. They couldn't find dirt on him, so they criminalized faith. God shut the lion's mouth. Innocence was found in him. When they can't find anything on you, they'll make something up. God sees it all. This isn't new. God wrote about it in the Bible. Caleb, 12 spies, went to the promised land. 10 came back saying we can't do it. There's a lot on here. We can't do it. Impossible. Got to be a Democrat or a Republican. 2 said, we're able. Charles Van Morgan, I'm saying we're able. Give me one other person in here. We're able to do this. At least serious concessions and maybe win the whole damn thing. The governor's race, the lawsuit, millions more people to make it almost impossible for them to continue putting forth their abuse of the public and living off your hard work. 2 said we're able. One more person. I know I got one more. Numbers 30:30. Then 10 who said impossible never saw the promise. You go against me, you might never see the promise for yourself. 40 years later, Caleb was still standing, 85 years old. Now, I'm not quite that old, and it's been about 13 years, but I'm still standing. Give me this mountain, 85 years old, asking for the hard assignment. The man who believed everyone else said impossible outlasted them all and then asked for more. Give me this mountain. That's the energy. The Tennessee race, the Tennessee fight is a live, uncovered wire. We're not going to let them grab us. Shock and awe. Right now, the 2026 governor's race is the most wide open it's ever been in a generation. Bill Lee is term limited. Thank the good Lord in heaven. He's wrecked this state under a Christian banner. He's a dirty rat. Works for Bill Has-Been. People are afraid to say that. It's the truth. The truth will set you free. Bill Lee is term limited. Democrats haven't won a statewide race since 2006. The Republican machine is deciding among itself who gets the mansion. You get the doghouse, and you get actually much worse than that. You get the outhouse. Tennesseans are trying to put us in the outhouse. Hell no, we won't go. I'm not a preacher if you haven't figured it out. I'm a truth teller, unbridled news. Nobody is asking you, except me, I'm asking you. Nobody is asking voters of truth enraged. I'm asking. The machine assumes it's already over. The wire is live, and nobody in that machine knows how much voltage is running through it yet. I know we got over 3 million people. I know we got a lot of haters. I know we can get rid of a few people and still win. We're in a fight, but it's not the fight that people think. We're winning it right now. With less gets more. Like and share, subscribe if you're hearing the message, contribute. The Mandela lesson, I don't agree with Zaron Mandani on barely anything politically. If the road can do it, we can do it too. In 2025, this man was polling at 1% in New York City against former Governor Andrew Cuomo, one of the most powerful machine politicians in American history. 1%. By June, he beat Cuomo in the primary. Then Cuomo ran as independent in November. Mandani beat him again. I don't care about his politics. I care about what the numbers mean. 1%. If it can happen in New York City, electing someone who is wrong about his religious beliefs, about almost everything. If it can happen against New York City, against the former governor, what can happen against Tennessee, against a machine that's been asleep at the wheel for 20 years? 1% is not the end. 1% is the beginning. Every story we told today has the same ending. The giant falls, the pit doesn't hold, the mud doesn't win, the furnace doesn't burn, the lions don't eat, the machine doesn't last. Not because the underdog was the biggest or the richest or the most powerful, because the underdog had something the giant never had. Truth, moral clarity, and a God who shuts lions' mouths and called down fire from heaven and pulled men out of mud pits and walked into furnaces with 3 Hebrew boys who refused to bow. They tried to grab this wire for years because they thought it was dead. It was never dead, it was just waiting. The wire is live, it's bare. No insulation, no cover, raw truth with courage. We are not going away, we are not going dark. The tipping point is here. Let's go forward in the state of Tennessee and impact this channel, this election, with mass millions of Tennesseans who had no one fighting for us. Now we're fighting for ourselves. Thank you all so very much for joining us. Contribute to the channel. Like and share. Help spread this message for the unheard, the mass millions of Tennesseans. As I always try to say, God loves you and I do too. Thank you for joining us. We'll try to be back on here maybe tomorrow, maybe Friday, maybe next week. I go by the seat of my pants if you haven't figured out. Don't let too many people control me. God bless you all. We appreciate you showing up. Until next time.